Good afternoon, and thank all of you for coming. And I'm here to talk a little bit about our restructuring plan more than anything else. As you all know, there were several milestones that were agreed upon between our office and Lansing several weeks ago. And the reality is that I don't think there's been enough movement in those milestones, and because of that, I think there's frustration across the board. There's frustration with me and my office. There's frustration from Lansing in terms of things not getting done as they should. And now I'm ready to go really to City Council with some of the milestones, not all of them, but some of the milestones for them to act on. I'm confident that our administration can move forward and deliver on these milestones, but it's about all of us working together. And I think that has been a problem. It seems to me that there are a lot of different agendas, and I have one agenda, and that is to do what's right for the citizens here in the city of Detroit. There may be people who don't agree with the pace that we're going. There may be people who don't agree with the direction that we're going in. But we've had a plan in place for over a year. That plan hasn't changed. What has to happen immediately is we have to make sure we implement the plan and we execute the plan. Without that, I'm not sure what is going to happen. So our goal is to execute and implement. Here are some of the items that I'll be taking to City Council for their approval on Tuesday, the 11th of this month. Number one, audit of employee medical benefit dependents. That's number one. Number two, we will ask them to approve the Plant Moran amendment to implement change in property tax and assessor's office. Number three, we will ask them to approve the workers' compensation fraud audit. Number four, we will ask them to approve the Miller-Canfield contract. Number five, we'll ask them to approve a resolution to increase procurement approval thresholds for City Council so many decisions can be implemented with great speed. And number six, we will have to address our cost structure in the short run, which unfortunately means we need to address our staffing levels and consider furloughs. The level and duration of furloughs has not yet been established, but the staffing reduction will have to reach into the hundreds to have the desired effect. Now, these are the things, and we're probably going to wait until we talk to Lansing a little later this afternoon to see whether or not they want some additional things on that we want to take to City Council. But over the next several weeks, as we once again look at the milestones that we had agreed upon, we'll be adding additional things to take to City Council so that we can get the approval and start the process of implementation. With that, if there are questions that you all may have, I have my executive team here, and we'll be prepared to answer those questions.
Mr. Mayor, the first question is, do you have 5 votes, particularly in Miller-Canfield? That's one. And 1A would be, well, let's talk about the fact that, everybody keeps talking about Chapter 9 is off the table. The fact of the matter is, emergency manager puts bankruptcy on the table, and the governor is now apparently in the planning stages. Where do you come down on all of this? What's your reaction to this?
To answer your first question, yes, I think we have 5 votes on Miller-Canfield. I think it would be the wrong thing to do is to go out and try to get another law firm to represent me and this administration, because they'd have to start from scratch, and it would cost us much more money than we're paying at this point in time with Miller-Canfield. We have a relationship that's been established. They're a very good law firm. They've represented us well at this point. My intentions, as I've talked to City Council, is that we will move that forward. As it relates to on Wednesday of this week, Andy Dillon came down and talked about where Lansing's head was relative to everybody's frustration, and that we needed to start the review process. I do understand that, so I'm not fighting that at all. Number one, the state has the authority and the responsibility to enact this review. This review, I am told, will take somewhere between 30 to 40 days, and after the review, there's a recommendation that would go back to the treasurer in terms of what the next steps will be. While all of that is going on, we're not going to sit here on our hands at all. I mean, we're going to be working. I'll be working with my internal staff. We'll be working with City Council to make sure that we keep getting the approvals that we need to get on that milestone agreement. So as you talk about, you know, Chapter 9 and bankruptcy and all of that, if we do the things and we meet the milestones, then I believe that we won't have to go in that direction. But I do understand what the state is doing because they need a plan B.
Mayor, you said earlier that there's frustration with me in my office. Can you articulate what that frustration is, and is it deserved frustration just from your responsibility in all this?
You know, one of the things that I've been frustrated with is that we have not been able to move things along fast enough. So that's a frustration. I've taken things to City Council over time, and they've not been able to respond as fast as I would like them to so that we can start the implementation plan. So, you know, you hear all of the things about how bad it is in the city and what are you guys doing? You're sitting on your hands. I should tell you, probably sometime in the next week or two, I'm not one that goes out and try to beat my chest in terms of what we've been able to accomplish. But we've accomplished a lot of things that even the press, I don't think, knows about. So we're going to get that information out to you in a format that you can see where we were, the things that we've accomplished, the things that in queue, and things that we're going to have problems with as we go forward. So that's my frustration.
Mr. Mayor, you said the other day from San Francisco that you've made so many cuts now that you're afraid to cut any more, it would hurt the public. Dylan was coming out and saying that you guys got to cut more to stem the cash flow and stop burning through the cash, and that you had to do it quickly. You had to do it very fast, or it was inevitable to have an emergency financial manager. How do you do both? How do you satisfy the cuts they want, and when you say that you've already cut as much as you think you can?
We had, when I came in the office in '09, we had 14,600 odd employees. Today, we're below 10,000. So we've cut a lot of jobs, a lot of positions out of city government, and it has negatively impacted services to the businesses and the citizens here in Detroit. We have to be very, very careful, and we have to be strategic, I think, in what it is that we can continue to cut, because let's not BS anybody. When you make these additional cuts, it's going to have a negative impact on services. So we've got to make sure what are the key services that we absolutely need to maintain. And we are going through that process now.
Do you do it fast enough to satisfy them?
I don't know that you ever satisfy them, quite frankly. You know, it's not an easy job, and so once again, I think that process of elimination, that process of cutting jobs is going to be a very strategic approach when we come out with it.
Mr. Mayor. A ballpark figure on the number of cuts that one city council member did say furloughs would not be enough. Do you have a ballpark figure on that?
The ballpark figure that we're looking is somewhere north of 400 people, 400 positions.
You'd also mentioned layoffs. Do you have any estimates on how many you expect to see?
I will let Jack, if you will, would you respond to that?
I think just as the mayor just stated, we are the layoff component. We're looking at approximately 400 to 500 employees. And in that layoff process, we do not intend to lay off any employees that are related to revenue generation.
Well, what does that mean? That's what you're looking at? That's what you're going to do? I guess, can you...
That is what we plan to implement. That is what we plan to do.
How soon?
We are starting the process, our HR department is starting to process the paperwork to do that right now. It's going to be, before we actually see employees leaving, it may be a 2 to 3 month process, but the process has started. They're up there, they're across the hall here meeting right now.
Mr. Mayor, I notice in your list of 6 things, you don't have the restructuring council contracts involved. Is there still some issue between Lansing and you in terms of restructuring, I don't, council's the improper word, the restructuring firm that you need? And will you bring that on Tuesday or not?
That will not come to the table on Tuesday, but I think, you know, we're coming toward the end of the year. We are not taking any recess at all. We've asked council not to take recess. We're going to have to work through this process. But as far as the restructuring firms are concerned, there's still conversation that is going on between us and Lansing.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask the question this way, and I think you referenced it, and we have certainly been hearing it. We heard it yesterday up in Lansing when we did interviews with Governor Snyder. The tone has markedly changed in just the last week with the message that was delivered here by Andy Dillon and the message we're hearing from Governor Snyder. And all the talk of the options of an emergency financial manager, Chapter 9. My question to you, sir, is this. Do you still think that as we sit here in 3 months, you will still be a mayor fully in charge of this city? And if you are not, could you have done anything to prevent that? And the third component of that is, how do you feel about this personally, knowing that this could happen on your watch?
Personally, I come to work with this team every day, and I know how hard we work. I don't think any of us are satisfied with where we are. So I do understand the frustration with the governor and the treasurer, because we are equally frustrated. Bottom line is that we are well past the time, in my opinion, to come to the table as a cohesive executive office and legislative office to get things done. You know, I'm just not satisfied, and you know, I don't get all hung up on what's happening on my watch. I said from day one when I came into this office, we were in a financial crisis. It has not changed. I've been very consistent with that, and the numbers prove it. What I'm frustrated with is that we've not been able to change the trajectory. And a lot of that has to do with not getting things done quick enough. We've always felt that this crisis meant that we had to do things fast. And everybody gets, to me, too hung up on policy and procedural kind of things. When the house is burning, from my vantage point, you don't say, you know, you didn't give me enough time to do this or that. You've got to react. You've got to act. And I don't think that's happened. So rather than sit here and point fingers and blame anybody, bottom line is we can't continue down this path.